In October 2019, a Russian research team working near Svalbard, Norway discovered a man wandering the ice sheet 200 miles from the nearest settlement. He was disoriented, suffering from severe frostbite, and spoke in fragmented English with a thick accent they couldn't place. When they brought him to the research station and he finally stabilized, he told them his name was Dr. Marcus Ellwood, a British glaciologist who disappeared during an expedition in 1979. That was 40 years ago. The man standing in front of them was approximately 68 years old, which matched perfectly with Ellwood's age if he'd somehow survived. But here's what made the Russian team contact Norwegian authorities immediately. Ellwood had no memory of the 40 years. It was still 1979. He remembered his expedition, remembered his team, remembered setting up camp near an ice shelf. Then nothing. Until he woke up on the ice in 2019. The Norwegian government sealed the case within weeks. The official report called it a mental health episode and claimed the man was a local suffering from dementia who had wandered from a nearby settlement. But 3 members of the Russian research team leaked documents before the case was classified. Those documents included medical records, interview transcripts, and something else. A warning Ellwood kept repeating once he understood what year it was. The ice is waking up. We never should have drilled that deep. It knows we're here now. This is what actually happened to Marcus Ellwood. Why his disappearance connects to a series of abandoned Arctic research stations, and what the classified expeditions discovered under the ice that governments don't want anyone talking about. Marcus Ellwood was a Cambridge-trained glaciologist who spent the 1970s studying Arctic ice sheet formation. In August 1979, he led a 6-person team to establish a research camp near the Glaciologist Ridge, an underwater mountain range beneath the Arctic Ocean. The expedition was funded by a joint British-Norwegian geological survey mapping seismic activity under the polar ice. The official mission was mapping ice thickness and studying permafrost stability. Standard glaciology work. Nothing classified. Nothing unusual. The team included Ellwood, 2 other geologists, a Russian liaison officer, a medical officer, and a communications specialist. They established camp on August 18, 1979, and began ice core drilling to collect samples from different depth layers. On September 3rd, Ellwood radioed base camp reporting they'd reached drilling depth of 3,200 meters, significantly deeper than planned. He said they'd found something in the core samples that required immediate analysis. He requested permission to continue drilling to 4,000 meters. Base camp approved and told them to report findings in 3 days. September 6th came and went with no transmission. Nothing. By September 10th, Norwegian authorities organized a search and rescue operation. A helicopter team reached the campsite on September 12th and found it completely abandoned. The tents were intact. Equipment was still running. Food supplies were untouched. The drilling equipment was active but unattended. The drill still running, having bored down to 4,247 meters before hitting something that stopped it. But here's what made the scene disturbing. 6 sets of footprints led away from the camp in different directions across the ice. Not together, not following each other. 6 separate paths going in 6 different directions, as if each team member walked away alone without coordinating or speaking. The footprints were tracked for several hundred meters before search teams lost them in rough ice fields. No bodies were ever found. No equipment was taken. No emergency distress calls were made. 6 people simultaneously walked away from a functioning camp into the Arctic wilderness and vanished. The official investigation concluded they'd suffered mass carbon monoxide poisoning from faulty heaters and wandered away in a confused state before dying of exposure. Their bodies, the report claimed, had been scattered by polar winds and wildlife. The case was closed in November 1979. The camp was dismantled. The drilling equipment was removed and classified as a loss. Everyone moved on. Until October 2019, when Marcus Ellwood walked out of the ice. The Russian research team that found Ellwood took him to their station and documented everything before Norwegian authorities arrived. One of the team members, Dr. Yevgeny Volkov, leaked portions of his medical report to a Norwegian newspaper before the government sealed the case. Those leaked records reveal something that contradicts the official confused dementia patient explanation. Ellwood had severe frostbite consistent with recent exposure, not 40 years of Arctic survival. His clothing was period correct for 1979, matching the expedition gear issued to the original team. His boots were manufactured by a company that went out of business in 1983. His equipment was decades old, but not weathered enough for 40 years of exposure. But here's what the medical team couldn't explain. Ellwood's physical condition suggested he was approximately 68 years old, the correct age, if he'd lived from 1951 to 2019. But his cellular aging markers were inconsistent, were significantly longer than expected for a 68-year-old. His arterial calcification was minimal. His bone density was that of a 50-year-old, not someone pushing 70. As if he'd lived through the 40 years but experienced only 25 years of biological aging. Dr. Volkov's leaked notes included a statement that medical staff couldn't reconcile. Quote, "Subject presents with chronological age, inconsistent with biological markers. Either records of birth year are incorrect, or subject has experienced prolonged metabolic reduction beyond any documented human hibernation case." The Norwegian government confiscated all medical records within 48 hours of Ellwood's transfer to a government facility. Dr. Volkov was dismissed from the research team and returned to Russia. The two other Russian team members who corroborated his account were reassigned to different projects. The leaked documents disappeared from the newspaper's servers within a week. But screenshots survived, and the interview transcripts leaked by another team member tell a story that the official explanation doesn't address. According to the leaked interview transcripts, Ellwood's memory was fragmented but consistent. He remembered the expedition. He remembered the drilling, and he remembered what they found. At 3,200 meters depth, the ice core started showing anomalies. The layers weren't forming correctly. There were gaps where continuous ice formation should exist, as if sections of time were missing from the geological record. The team hypothesized they'd found evidence of a massive seismic event that had fractured the ice sheet thousands of years ago. They requested permission to drill deeper to find the fracture point. Base camp approved. They drilled to 4,000 meters, then 4,200 meters. At 4,247 meters, the drill hit something that wasn't ice. The drill bit jammed. When they extracted it, the tip was slightly melted, which shouldn't be possible in permafrost temperatures. They lowered a camera into the borehole. At 4,247 meters depth, the camera feed showed the drill had punctured through the ice sheet into a cavity. A large open space beneath the ice, with walls that reflected the camera light in ways that ice doesn't reflect. Ellwood described it as crystalline structures that looked geometric, almost artificial. The camera feed ran for 18 minutes before it malfunctioned. During those 18 minutes, Ellwood said they observed movement in the cavity, not water flow, not ice shifting. Movement of something they couldn't identify on the low-resolution feed. The team debated whether they were seeing equipment malfunction or something actually moving in the space beneath the ice. That night, everyone at the camp reported the same dream. A sound like grinding ice, continuous and rhythmic, coming from below. Ellwood said when he woke up, the sound was still there. Not in his head, but actual audible sound coming from the borehole. Low frequency, almost below the range of human hearing, but strong enough to vibrate the equipment. The next thing he remembered was waking up on the ice in 2019 with a Russian research team standing over him. Everything between the night of September 5, 1979 and October 2019 was gone. 40 years of memory, completely absent. When they explained that he'd been missing for 4 decades, he became agitated and kept repeating variations of the same warning. We drilled too deep. We opened something. The ice is waking up. It knows we're here now. Here's what makes Ellwood's case more disturbing when you look at the broader context. His expedition wasn't the only Arctic research team to vanish under strange circumstances. It's just the only one where someone came back. A Canadian research station on Ellesmere Island was abandoned overnight. 14 researchers disappeared, leaving behind functioning equipment and no distress calls. The official explanation was structural failure due to ice pressure that forced rapid evacuation. No bodies were recovered. In 1981, 2 years after Ellwood's disappearance, a Soviet research station in Siberia went silent. The camp was found intact with no signs of struggle or evacuation. The official Soviet explanation was classified, but leaked documents referred to anomalous seismic readings detected before communication ceased. In 1988, a Norwegian drilling operation near Svalbard was shut down and sealed. The official reason given was equipment failure and budget constraints. But a member of the drilling team later told a journalist they'd been drilling for geological samples when they hit a cavity at 3,800 meters depth. The decision to abandon the site came within 24 hours of that discovery. In 2004, a multinational research team working near the North Pole reported unusual electromagnetic readings under the ice sheet. They requested additional time and equipment to investigate. The expedition was recalled, and the data was classified by international agreement between the participating nations. The pattern is consistent. Deep drilling operations near the Glacial Ridge, discoveries of cavities or anomalies beneath the ice, rapid closure of operations or disappearance of personnel, official explanations that don't match the evidence, and systematic suppression of the findings. But here's what connects all of these cases to Ellwood. Every single one of these expeditions was drilling in the same general region, a 500-kilometer stretch of the Arctic Ocean floor near the Glacial Ridge. And every single one reported unusual findings right before things went wrong. The Glacial Ridge is one of the slowest-spreading mid-ocean ridges on Earth. It's a volcanic mountain range buried under 4,000 meters of ice, where tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart. In geological terms, it's an active zone where the Earth's crust is thin and magma occasionally breaks through. What makes it scientifically interesting is that it shouldn't be there. Mid-ocean ridges typically occur in warmer waters where tectonic spreading is active. The Glacial Ridge exists under permanent ice cover in one of the coldest regions on Earth. Yet it shows signs of recent volcanic activity. Expeditions in the 1990s and 2000s discovered hydrothermal vents in the area, underwater volcanic systems pumping superheated water into the freezing ocean. These hydrothermal vent systems create something unusual under the ice. Pockets of liquid water heated by volcanic activity, trapped between the ice sheet above and the ocean floor below. These pockets can be massive, kilometers across, existing in total darkness under 4,000 meters of ice for potentially thousands of years. In 2013, Russian scientists drilling into Lake Vostok in Antarctica found bacterial species that don't match anything in known databases. Organisms that have been isolated under the ice for 15 million years, evolving independently from everything else on Earth. The question scientific papers don't answer, but everyone thinks about is this. If simple bacteria can survive in isolation under the ice for millions of years, what else might have survived down there? Marcus Ellwood's warning, repeated multiple times in the leaked transcripts, focused on one specific phrase that he kept coming back to. It knows we're here now. Not something is down there. Not we found something dangerous. But it knows we're here, as if whatever is beneath the ice has awareness. As if drilling down and puncturing into those sealed environments woke something up or alerted something to human presence. The official response to this warning was psychiatric evaluation. Declared mentally unfit and committed to a secure medical facility where media access was prohibited. The Norwegian government released a statement saying he was suffering from trauma-induced delusions and needed long-term care. But here's what doesn't add up. If Ellwood was just a confused dementia patient who wandered from a nearby settlement, why did the government classify all medical records? Why dismiss and reassign the Russian research team that found him? Why seal the case and prohibit media coverage? If he was a mentally ill local, there's no reason for international government intervention. What he remembered, what he was warning about, was something that multiple governments agreed needed to be suppressed. The Arctic drilling operations that have been mysteriously shut down or abandoned, the expeditions that vanish without explanation, the consistent pattern of discoveries followed immediately by classification and closure. And now a man reappearing after 40 years with biological aging inconsistencies and memories of something beneath the ice that knows we're here. Either there's a coordinated international cover-up of something genuinely strange happening under the Arctic ice, or there's a series of bizarre coincidences that governments are overreacting to for no reason. Both options are disturbing, just in different ways. There have been 3 more Arctic research stations shut down without public explanation. All 3 were conducting deep ice drilling operations. All 3 received immediate closure orders from their respective governments within weeks of beginning operations. Climate change is melting the Arctic ice sheet faster than predicted. The ice that's been sealing whatever's beneath it for thousands or millions of years is disappearing. Within 30–50 years, large sections of the Arctic Ocean floor will be exposed to open water for the first time in human history. If subglacial environments exist beneath that ice, and if those environments contain organisms or structures or anything that has been isolated for millennia, climate change is about to unseal them. Whether that's bacteria that could be biologically dangerous, geological instabilities that could trigger massive methane releases, or something else entirely. The ice is melting, and we're about to find out what's been hidden underneath. Marcus Ellwood's warning, whether you believe his story or think he's mentally ill, raises a question that should be asked regardless. If governments are suppressing Arctic research findings and classifying drilling operations, what exactly are they trying to prevent from becoming public knowledge? The ice is melting. If something is down there, it won't stay sealed much longer. And if Ellwood's warning has any truth to it, whatever is beneath the ice already knows we're here. It's been listening to us drill, watching us probe deeper into its territory. In 40 years, it might not matter whether Ellwood's story is real or delusion, because the ice won't be there anymore to keep things separated. And we'll find out what's underneath whether we're ready for that discovery or not.